There's a moment most people know well. You're lying in bed, the room is dark, everything is quiet, and your mind decides that right now is the perfect time to replay that conversation from 3 years ago, to wonder if you said the wrong thing, to imagine how it could have gone differently, to build entire arguments with people who aren't even in the room. And no matter how many times you tell yourself to stop, to just go to sleep, to let it go, the thoughts keep coming, louder, faster, like a machine that doesn't have an off switch. You are not broken. You are not weak. But something is happening inside you that most people never fully understand. And once you do understand it, everything starts to make a little more sense. Here's the truth about overthinking that nobody really talks about. It doesn't come from being too smart. It doesn't come from caring too much. It comes from fear. Specifically, it comes from the fear of being caught off guard. Somewhere along the way, your mind learned that if it thinks about every possible outcome, every possible way something could go wrong, every possible version of a conversation or a decision or a future, then maybe, just maybe, nothing bad will surprise you. Overthinking is your mind trying to protect you. It's doing its best. It's just doing it in a way that makes you exhausted. Think about a time you had to make a decision. Maybe it was something small, like which job offer to accept, or something that felt enormous in the moment, like whether to send a message to someone you cared about. And instead of just deciding, you found yourself going in circles. You'd think about one option, then the other, then back to the first, then you'd wonder what it meant that you kept going back to the first. Then you'd question whether your feelings were even trustworthy, and by the end of it, you hadn't moved at all. You were paralyzed. Not because you were incapable of choosing, but because your mind was treating that small moment like a matter of survival, like getting it wrong would be catastrophic, like there was a right answer hidden somewhere in all that noise, and you just had to think hard enough to find it. But here's what nobody tells you. The more you think about something, the more uncertain it feels, not less. Certainty doesn't come from more thinking. It comes from stepping away from the thought long enough to hear something quieter underneath it. Most overthinkers have something in common. They grew up in environments where unpredictability was the norm. Maybe one parent's mood changed without warning. Maybe praise came one day and criticism came the next. Maybe you learned early that you had to read the room carefully, anticipate what someone needed before they said it, scan for tension before it arrived. Your mind became a radar, incredibly sensitive, constantly scanning, always preparing. And that skill, that hyper-awareness, helped you survive those years. It really did. But now you're older and you're carrying that radar into situations that don't require it. You're scanning for danger in a text message. You're preparing for conflict in a casual lunch. You're rehearsing apologies for things that haven't happened yet. The mind that overthinks is a loyal mind. It never clocked out. It just never got the memo that the emergency was over. And this is where it gets even more interesting. Overthinking doesn't just steal your peace, it steals your present. When you are deep in a spiral of what-ifs and should-haves, you are not here. You are somewhere in the past, pulling apart things that are finished. Or you are somewhere in the future, dreading things that haven't arrived. The present moment, the actual life happening right now, the coffee cooling in your hands, the light changing outside the window, the person sitting across from you, all of it disappears. You're alive, but you're not quite living. You're breathing, but you're somewhere else entirely. There's a quiet grief in that, and most overthinkers feel it. That sense that life is somehow moving past them, that they're watching it through glass. And then they think about that too, which only makes it worse. So what actually helps? Not what sounds good in theory, but what genuinely shifts something. The first thing is learning to notice the spiral before you're inside it. There's always a moment, a brief one, before the overthinking takes full hold. A small tightening, a subtle shift in your breathing, a thought that hooks you just a little too hard. When you catch that moment, you have a choice. Not to force the thoughts away, because that never works. Pushing thoughts away is like trying to smooth water with your hand. You just create more ripples. Instead, you name what's happening. You say to yourself, quietly, "This is the spiral starting." That simple act of naming creates a tiny bit of space between you and the thought, and space is everything. The second thing is understanding that not every thought is telling you the truth. Your mind generates thoughts the way your lungs generate breath, constantly, automatically, without asking permission. Most of those thoughts are not facts, they are patterns, habits of interpretation. And just because a thought feels true, just because it arrives with urgency and conviction, doesn't mean you have to follow it. The third thing, and this one takes time, is learning to trust yourself at a deeper level. Most overthinking is rooted in a quiet belief that you can't handle things going wrong, that if the worst happened, you'd fall apart. But think about every hard thing you've already lived through, every moment you were convinced you wouldn't be okay, and then somehow you were. Not because everything worked out perfectly, but because you're more resilient than your anxious mind gives you credit for. You have survived 100% of your worst days so far. That's not nothing. That's actually extraordinary. Overthinking will probably always be something you return to sometimes. It's woven into the way your mind learned to move through the world. But it doesn't have to run your life. The goal isn't to stop thinking. The goal is to stop being afraid of your own thoughts, to see them clearly, to hold them lightly, to remember that you are not the voice inside your head. You are the one listening to it. And that listener, the quiet one behind all the noise, is steadier than you know.